Thank you so much, NC State Marching Band. Good afternoon, students, family, friends, and supporters of the Wolfpack. My name is Mackenzie Hevlin, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as student body president this academic year. On behalf of the 36,000 undergraduate and graduate students, welcome to the 2021 Chancellor's Fall Address. Today kicks off a week of events meant to engage, inspire, and reinvigorate your love for NC State University. I hope this week brings back memories of why you love our university, be it late nights in the library stacks, slipping on wet bricks, especially on days like today, or finally finding your academic passion. As we reflect on our time at NC State, Red and White Week also serves as a time to envision the collective future of our university and its impact, a future that strengthens the educational opportunities of North Carolina, builds the character of tomorrow's leaders, and creates lasting change on a national and global scale. From the student view, we are well positioned to achieve this vision. I'm extremely proud of my peers for their resilience, compassion, and perseverance over the past 2 years. In my mind, one of the few things more challenging than going to college is doing it during a pandemic, and yet we're still learning how to do that. As you'll hear today and throughout the week, NC State as a whole is well positioned to make such an impact due to the generosity and support of thousands of our alumni and friends. On behalf of all the students, thank you all for being an active part of our community of scholars, leaders, and change makers. And thank you all for joining us today as we celebrate NC State. Now please join me in welcoming the 14th Chancellor of NC State University, Dr. Randy Woodson.
Thanks, Mackenzie. And Mackenzie, thank you for your phenomenal leadership. This is definitely a challenging time, but you've been there for the students. And for the students, thank you all for showing up today. Sorry to be interrupting your studies in Tally, but we'll get through this very quickly and you can have your student union back, okay? Deal? All right. And welcome everyone to the 2021 Fall Address, which marks the beginning, as Mackenzie said, of Red and White Week, our annual homecoming celebration. And it's wonderful to see you all here, particularly to see all your faces, and boy, do I mean that. I've gotten tired, I know you've gotten tired of watching me talk somberly into the camera about the last 19 months, and just imagine how I feel and all those folks having to watch those videos feel. But I do want to thank Brad Bolander and his communication team for everything they've done to help communicate so clearly and so effectively throughout this pandemic. You know, we've come a long way since last March, and I want to thank all of you for your perseverance, your hard work, and your commitment to protecting the pack. For those of you who haven't gotten your vaccine yet, I trust you'll join the rest of us in doing your part. More than 82% of our campus is now vaccinated. And that figure keeps going up. There's no better way to help your community, and it beats getting your nose swabbed every week. You know, our time apart did remind me that NC State isn't bound by its bricks and mortar. This university of ours isn't just a fixed place. It's tens of thousands of us learning, working together, and rising together. And today, I want to talk about what unites our Wolfpack and the challenges ahead. The first course catalog ever printed at this university back in the late 1800s declared that NC State's goal was to illustrate sound theory by daily practice. Sound theory by daily practice. In other words, think and do. That isn't a coincidence, think and do. It's always been our mission since our founding. NC State was built to take the fruits of discovery and make them matter in the lives of everyday people all across this great state, all across the country, and of course around the world. Our goal is to create knowledge, but not just to create it, to share it and use it for the greater good. In 2011, under the leadership of Provost Warwick Arden, we created a strategic plan to guide the university through this next decade that we're now in. It asked a lot of us, but you stuck to it in hundreds of ways, from increased graduation rates to the high caliber of research this university is part of, and to the much stronger efforts to get that information out into commercial products. Now we're embarking on a new 10-year plan, even more ambitious than the last. And I've never been more convinced of our potential. To start, let's talk about our students. These students, the lifeblood of this great university. There aren't enough hours in the day for me to acknowledge everything our amazing students have achieved this year. There's a list, you all have it in your laps. I invite you to take it home and peruse it. Now, or go onto our website at ncsu.edu/recognize. But I'll call out a few names because that's what I do. In the past year, 2 of our students received a Goldwater Scholarship for their undergraduate research. Jack Featherstone in physics and Andrew Mastili in aerospace engineering. Anna Sophia Usoy, who studied physics and computer science while at NC State, became our 3rd ever Churchill Scholar. And Nikhil Malind, alumnus of computer science and genetics, became our 4th Churchill Scholar. Only 17 students this year were selected as Churchill Scholars from a nationwide competition, and two were from NC State. One of only 2 institutions in the country to have more than one. You ask, what was that other institution? University of Pennsylvania, just for the record. Also, Colton Bada, an alum who majored in computer science with a minor in business entrepreneurship, received the 2021 Marshall Scholarship. A chemistry and agricultural business management alumna, Carly Moore, received the Knight Hennessy Scholarship from Stanford, our 4th Knight Hennessy Scholar in just the last 4 years. 3 students were awarded a Gilman Scholarship to study abroad, including Star Gibbons, majoring in political science and communication, Angel Hernandez, majoring in fashion and textile management, and Anthony Ramsey, majoring in international studies and Arabic. 2 students received a Fulbright Scholarship. Ronnie Minwali, majoring in international studies and business administration, and Alania Claudio, majoring in biochemistry and marine sciences. And more than 24 students received graduate research fellowships from the National Science Foundation. I can't keep my glasses up. Is it just me, or do these masks make your ears look bigger? And when you wear glasses, you got to have something behind your ears. It's just too much. So let's hope it keeps getting better. So just 2 months ago, we welcomed our largest ever incoming class, selected from more than 37,000 applications to NC State, which is also a record. This year sees increases in the proportion of incoming women as our first-year students, Black students, Hispanic students, and rural students, as well as first-generation students. More than a quarter of the new class are people of color, and the number of new underrepresented minority students saw an overall increase in 13%. Now that's hard-won progress, and we won't stop striving to really represent all of the people of North Carolina. Now it's the turn of our faculty. Again, you can go to the list, ncsu.edu/recognize for the bigger and more comprehensive list, but here are a few highlights. Our beloved Dean of Engineering, Louis Martin Vega, was elected to the National Academy of Engineering, the highest honor an academic engineer can receive. Kay Chang, the Randall B. Terry Jr. Distinguished Professor of Regenerative Medicine, was named a Fellow of the International Academy of Medical and Biological Engineering. And we had 4 new inductees into the National Academy of Inventors, Paul Dayton and Donald Freites, of Biomedical Engineering. Behnam Portahimi of the Wilson College of Textiles, and the Nonwovens Institute, as well as Tom Rady of my home department of Horticultural Science. I have to remind them that occasionally because I want to hold a spot. NC State is now in the top 10 of all universities in America for the number of faculty in the National Academy of Inventors. That's the do part of Think and Do. Holly Land Lee of the College of Education is one of 3 finalists for the 2021 Robert Foster Cherry Award for Great Teaching. And Julia Rudolph, professor of the Department of History, was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship. Robin Moore, professor in the Department of Landscape Architecture and Environmental Planning, and Robert Kelly, the Alcoa Professor of Chemical Engineering, both received the Alexander Quarles Holiday Medal for Excellence, the highest honor bestowed by NC State. And Hassan Jamil, the Jordan Family Distinguished Professor of Natural Resources. I told you I'd get natural resources. Myron is so sensitive. You know, these deans, they need their college to be named. Okay, I'm sorry. Professor of Natural Resource Innovation, received the 2021 UNC Board of Governors Award of Excellence in Teaching. In the past year or so, we've also welcomed a wealth of new talent to our senior leadership team at this great university. Danica Scott, sitting here in the front, was named Vice Chancellor and Dean of the Division of Academic and Student Affairs. Wave, Danica. Okay. Don Hunt, the new Senior Vice Provost for Enrollment Management Services. Is Don here? I don't know. Back? Oh yeah, Don, back in the corner, trying to stay out of the Chancellor's limelight. Don Hunt has come here as the Vice Provost, Senior Vice Provost for Enrollment Management from UC Davis. And Deanna Daniels, our own Associate Dean, is now the Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And the Chancellor's Office is proud to call Paula Gentius, where's Paula? Right over here, Paula Gentius, the Chief of Staff and Secretary of NC State. Part of what draws staff and faculty to of this caliber to NC State is the strength of the research. And you're standing in one of the nation's most vital hubs for discovery and innovation. And that isn't just your chancellor running off his mouth, which I actually do quite a bit. But here are a few numbers. More than $1.64 billion in research proposals were submitted this past fiscal year. Nearly $400 million in new research projects were funded, and more than $500 million in annual research spending, representing a new record for NC State. Nationally, we're number 6 for industry-funded expenditures among public research universities. Yep, that's it. And in the past 10 years, our federal research expenditures have grown by 65%, outpacing all but one of our peers. And just for the record, Georgia Tech, we're coming after you. And also for the record, yeah, go ahead, give it up for coming after. And also just for the record, while our research expenditures grew by 65%, the federal research expenditure availability only grew by 19%. That's called getting a bigger slice of the pie. And that's a tribute to our great faculty, to the leadership of Mladen Vogt and others who are doing so much to build a research culture at NC State. And we continue to be a partner of choice for those who want to get things done. Just look at the last 4 months alone. In July, we announced a new research initiative to develop artificial intelligence tools that can advance human learning. This effort is headed by James Lester, the Distinguished University Professor of Computer Science, and backed by an initial 5-year, $20 million grant from the National Science Foundation. And in August, we learned NC State was selected to lead the National Science Foundation Science and Technology Center. These are some of the most competitive centers in the country. And this one is to tackle the crucial issue that not all of you think about every day, but if you were a plant, you would. And that's the availability of phosphorus, which is a critical nutrient for plants and is in limited supply in our Earth's crust. and in some cases actually overabundant in the environment, but not available to plants. So this center will focus on phosphorus sustainability with an initial 5-year, $25 million grant. Keep rolling because I got ahead of it. The faces of this work are Jacob Jones, a material science and engineering professor, and Ross Sazani, of plant and microbial biology. And that's an interesting combination, bringing the skills of engineering and material science together with the skills of plant biology to solve one of the grand challenges. NSF only funds a handful of these centers every decade, so it's another big deal for NC State. And finally, we were also awarded a $17 million grant from the National Institutes of Health to explore the potential link between environmental contaminants and liver cancer, particularly among underserved populations. And this effort will be led by Catherine Hoya, a distinguished professor in the Department of Biological Sciences at NC State. You know, we earn these awards because we get results, and people know that. And it's because we have great interdisciplinary collaboration. It's second nature here. We seek collaborators out. Another example of the exceptional collaboration is our new Data Sciences Academy. Look, there's a long tradition of world-class analytics at NC State. Remember, this is the university that gave birth to the SAS Institute, a multi-billion-dollar corporation starting here on this campus and now in Cary. Our Institute for Advanced Analytics launched the world's first Master of Science in Analytics program, and we're home to the National Security Agency's Laboratory for Analytic Sciences, and the Data Sciences Initiative that seeks to develop courses and curriculum for all of our students to understand the complexity of data. These are just a few examples of many initiatives related to data sciences. The Data Science Academy is a new university-wide effort to ensure data science is for everyone. We're teaching today's graduates to excel in industries of tomorrow, which has been our goal since 1887. And as a land-grant university, we prepare people not just for jobs and careers, but for the ever-changing world. We are also the flagship STEM campus of the UNC system. That means it falls on us to meet the statewide demand for science, technology, and engineering and math graduates. And we're in conversations constantly with the state legislature about strategies to help us do that better. We want to help strengthen North Carolina by bringing even more talented students into the fields of engineering and computer science so that we can engineer North Carolina's future. It's a legislative initiative that, when the budget passes, will be realized for NC State. It'll bring new resources to grow our enrollment in these critical fields that are so necessary for the companies that are calling North Carolina home. So stay tuned for an exciting announcement about this in the near future. For now, we think the North Carolina legislatures agree. Our state and the nation needs a bigger Wolfpack. And we're excited about the opportunity to open the doors wider for any student with the talent and the desire to walk through them. That brings me to one of the goals enshrined in NC State's new strategic plan, which is advancing a culture of equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, and well-being in everything we do. We've witnessed a national reckoning with injustice, and we know the challenges facing this country extend to our campus and well beyond. And in February, we published the final report from last year's Racial Equity Summit, and you can read it in full at diversity.ncsu.edu. You know, good intentions are easy, but authentic change is hard. But diversity, equity, and inclusion training is more available and encouraged for faculty, staff, and students than ever before. And our commitment to diversity and inclusion is written into the work plan for every employee. We feel the urgency of this work, and so do our alumni. We've seen unprecedented private support for diversity initiatives this past year alone, with more than 40 new funds being created. The Women's Center, which celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, saw a surge in giving to the Survivor Fund. This fall also marks the 30th anniversary of the African American Culture Center's move to Witherspoon Student Center. And the GLBT Center received a major gift that formed the Spitz Dream Fund to benefit our students. And our own trustee, the Timothy L. Humphrey Inclusion, Equity, and Diversity Award, which supports NC State's campus community centers, is the first gift of its kind to this great university. And perhaps you've heard that Bloomberg Business Week just ranked Frank Buckles, he's the dean, he wants to be called out too. That's why they sit right here on the front. So the Jenkins MBA program was just ranked #1, foam finger in the air, #1 in the nation for diversity in the MBA program. That's an awesome accomplishment, but what it reveals is more important. What it reveals is that if you're from an underrepresented background and you seek to gain a foothold in the business world through an MBA, there's no better place in America to do it than NC State. The promise of a public university is that everyone can thrive here. And it's on us to keep that promise. I want to go back to the unprecedented demand for NC State graduates and for our research, our innovation, and our partnerships. Since 2010, the city of Raleigh has been the second fastest growing metropolitan area in these great United States of America. Second out of 384. In March, Google announced the creation of 1,000 new engineering jobs in our area, bringing their cloud computing group to the Triangle. The same month, Fujifilm Dynascent Technologies announced a $2 billion investment in Wake County, and we're collaborating with them on research projects and workforce training. In fact, their workforce is largely trained in the BTech Center at NC State. You look at the companies that are here now, ABB, Cisco, GlaxoSmithKline, IBM, Red Hat, and our very own SAS. NC State builds long-term partnerships with these companies, and we work with them on research projects. And they hire our students for internships, and then they create opportunities for our graduates. It's a win-win. For many of our region's biggest homegrown success stories, NC State's Centennial Campus has been the launch pad. Look at Bandwidth, a longtime Centennial partner, now is expanding its headquarters and adding 1,000 new jobs. The Triangle is a world-class innovation hub, and NC State is a key reason why. These companies name drop us all the time when they announce their big deals in the Triangle. They come to this area in large part because we are here and we support their growth. In May, I had the privilege of conferring an honorary degree on Jeff Williams, Chief Operating Officer at Apple, but that was his second degree from NC State. His first was a bachelor's in mechanical engineering in 1985. Now he's helping Apple to make a $1 billion investment that will create 3,000 new jobs in North Carolina, and North Carolina will be the East Coast hub for Apple. The smart money believes in our state and believes in NC State University. And I know you want to get the ice cream or the spirit points for our students. And I'm almost there. But I won't be forgiven if I don't give a special mention to our Think and Do the Extraordinary campaign, which comes to a close at the end of this year. And I'm very grateful for Brian Cisco and his team and their leadership. And we'll be announcing later this week the success of the campaign. You can give it up for it now. Now there's a fundraising number that I'm not supposed to say out loud because it's not final and we're not finished, but it sure is impressive. And only a dozen or so other universities across the country have achieved a campaign of this magnitude. And for that, I'm immensely proud. But you know what's even more impressive is what those funds do at NC State. You know, it's not, yeah, the money is big, but it's the investment in our university and the investment of the talent of our university. So here's some campaign numbers I can share today. More than 1,400 new scholarships and fellowships have been created. 4,300 more students are supported today than before the campaign, and that number's going up. 101 new distinguished faculty positions were created during the campaign. 50 new transfer student scholarships were created, and 128,305 total donors. You can make that 306 today if you want. Included 66,000 new donors to NC State. And last March, we set a national record for dollars raised during any university around the country for a day of giving, $58 million in 24 hours. You know, yeah, give it up for. The generosity of this wolf pack is nothing short of humbling, and your continued support is life-changing in so many in our community. Two more things, I promise. One of them is about ice cream. Today, you'll get, well, that's just a real good sign, isn't it, about the ice cream? You know why it fell? Because the creamery that created this ice cream, they're real worried that this is going to knock the Chancellor's Choice Wolf Tracks off of its pedestal, symbolic of the name falling off of this pedestal. But I can assure you, while it's going to be fine and you're going to be proud it's not going to take Wolf Tracks off the top. So today you'll get a sample of brand new flavor for NC State's own Howling Cow, created to celebrate the end of our campaign. For that reason, it's called icing on the cake. Now, so who doesn't like cake with a little ice cream on top? Well, there's probably somebody out there that doesn't. But this is going to be ice cream with cake in the ice cream. I mean, it's almost too much to even imagine. I'm a little worried it might be hard and it might break a tooth, but we're confident that it's going to work out. And I don't know how it stacks up against Chancellor's Choice, but I have a feeling I'm going to still be on top. The final thing that I want to talk about today is the future. You know, this year saw the completion and restoration of the NC State Memorial Bell Tower at Henry Square. You know, it took us almost 100 years after construction began to finish the bell tower and to actually put bells in the bell tower. Back in November 1921, they placed a copper box inside the cornerstone, a time capsule, containing a list of 2,000 men from NC State who served in World War I. Copies of both Raleigh newspapers and college publications and photographs of campus. The 3,000 souls that gathered at the site of the bell tower that day didn't yet know about the Great Depression, the Second World War, or all the trials the 20th century would bring, let alone the 21st century. And I'm guessing they couldn't imagine COVID-19, even though they just successfully come through the last pandemic our country experienced. But they left a message for us because they thought it would move us, because they wanted to remind us of their time and their purpose, to illustrate sound theory by daily practice, to think and do. And I don't know what words they'll use to describe NC State's enduring mission at a century from now, but I do know that the spirit will be the same. It will be think and do. It's in our DNA. It's in this place. It's in all of you. So right now, I'm about to place the very first item in a brand new time capsule. It's my Think and Do the Extraordinary lapel pin, which I was lucky to get here with today because the students always ask me for it. So I did a little secret today. I gave it away, but then I called Lindsay Ritchie and I said, Lindsay, bring me another lapel pin. So this is actually Sherry Swab's lapel pin. She doesn't know I'm about to bury it for 100 years. Excuse me. And for that, I apologize, Sherry. But I think it's pretty special that Sherry Swab's lapel pin is going to be dropped in the time capsule. Great job. Given modern science, these guys will probably be there in 100 years, to open this time capsule. But it's a token of our university. It's a reminder of our ongoing support that this great place needs to thrive. And I hope it can serve as a reminder to the NC State of the future, too. Over the next few months, our campus community will have the chance to select objects, photos, and stories to fill our new time capsule. And next spring, we'll place it in the bell tower, although it's kind of big, so I hope we've got a good spot for it, for future generations to discover. And let's have them say that we kept our mission. Let's make them proud. Let's go Wolfpack.